One quick question.
What's up?
You've not put in exactly where the ads are going to go, so I just want to know I'm ready to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Let's say after your what we've been watching, okay?
Is the first ad?
Yeah, so I'll go, and
Yeah.
then before,
Before spoilers or
let's try second ad there. How about there?
works for
Tentatively?
me? Yep.
Just be after what we've been watching. Be ready, okay?
Uh huh.
All right. I'm gonna
Okay.
put in the theme song afterwards, so
Mm-hmm.
there'll be no theme song. So here we go. First of all, can people in the chat room hear us okay before I start this whole situation? Chime in the chat. Let us know. Can you see and hear us? How's
I
it
can
look and
hear you.
sound?
I'm listening to the stream as well, and I can hear
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, it sounds okay. Can you hear
you.
Devindra?
Yes.
Can you hear
Hello.
Devindra talking?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mixmaster
People are
Brew
saying yes,
says
yes.
he can. Okay, here we go. And Jeff, I have started recording correctly. Yes, according to what you see.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Sounds great. Awesome. Let's. Did someone just run away?
My child ran down the hall.
That's what
Okay.
children sound like.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Slash Filmcast. I am David Chen, and with me are.
Devendra Hardawar.
And Jeff Kanata.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Today on the podcast, we got some brief film news we want to run through before moving on into some what we've been watching and then concluding with an in-depth review. This week, we will be reviewing Bill and Ted Face the Music, the sequel to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey that we didn't ask for and didn't know we wanted,
A movie that should not exist.
but maybe
by
we
all,
did.
all accounts.
Maybe
yeah.
we did. Maybe we did. Anyway, we'll
Maybe
find
they
out.
need to save us all. Yeah.
We'll find out during our review of the film. But before we get going with anything that's related to the podcast, I do want to make a couple of announcements. First of all, those of you who've been listening to the podcast for, let's say, the last couple years may know or recall that Beatty Zhang is our editor. She has basically edited like 99% of all the episodes over the course of last year, a couple years. She does a great job.
Mhm.
I depend on her to live, and not.
And we
they
love
say,
her. We
yeah.
love her.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
love her, love her, love her.
We are huge fans of her, and she texted me this morning and she said, "Hey, Dave, do you mind editing tonight's podcast because I'm feeling really." She got food poisoning. Not feeling
Awful.
well, and I said, "Of course, happy to cover." But I realized I haven't edited an episode in a really long time. I've come to depend on Beatty.
Wow.
So I want to say a couple things. First of all, Beatty, I don't know if you're going to listen to this episode. Probably not, because you don't have to. But if you are listening to this, just know that we are wishing you well, hoping you recover shortly. Also, Beatty wanted me to pass on this piece of advice: never refreeze ice cream and then eat it.
Huh.
So that's just a little
Interesting.
piece of advice you can write
That's
down.
how she got food
I
poisoning?
do that. I do that all the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Write that down. Put that in your pocket. The
She's
second,
just saying finish the ice cream.
finish the ice
all
cream.
the
That's right.
ice cream. Just eat all of it in your house, just as a safety measure. Eat every bit of ice cream you own. And I will be following that advice later tonight.
I think that's
Yes.
correct. That's absolutely correct. Second thing I want to mention is I am recording this episode using a brand new setup I've never used before. Jeff has used it before. It's called Zencaster. A bunch of podcasters use it. But I've never used it before. And so I'm just going to go on a limb and say it's very possible something's going to go wrong tonight.
What are you
and
talking about?
I've already
Never
I've already told the guys, please make zero mistakes. I don't want to edit
You
that
mean
much.
like usual, like we
Yeah,
always
like
make
usual,
zero
like
mistakes.
usual. Make no
The
mistakes.
show, so when you say edited, some music is thrown in and then we post it. There's
Yeah.
there's nothing to edit out.
I mean, I can totally understand why people would think that, but
Right, Charles? I mean, Dave? Oh, another gaffe.
anyway, if things sound a little weird or there are some mistakes, that is why. It's because Beatty is out. But Beatty, we wish you well. Hope you feel better soon. All right, a couple of other things I wanted to mention before we get into what we've been watching this week, and that is I think I wasn't the only one that was completely stunned to learn of the passing of Chadwick Boseman this past weekend.
Oh man. Yeah.
Past-
Stunned and saddened.
Yeah.
It's really a very sad thing.
hmm
I was reading this newsletter. Do you guys read newsletters these days? I read a lot of newsletters these days.
It's apparently the hot new thing. So yeah, no, I don't, but I know it's a hot new thing.
So Luke O'Neill writes a newsletter called "Welcome to Hell World," and he wrote in his newsletter, "quote It had never occurred to me to worry about losing Chadwick Boseman. I
Mhm.
just assumed, without ever really thinking about it, that we would all be watching him in movies for the next 40 years." End quote. And that's kind of how I felt. We kind of just were like, "Oh, what an amazing,
He was just
talented-
getting started.
what an
Yeah.
amazing, talented guy who had already appeared in many iconic roles. Obviously, probably the most well known of which is as T'Challa in Black Panther. But we just assumed, hey, this is a guy who's just getting started. His career feels like it's on the up and up. He's had one of the biggest characters, one of the most iconic characters of all time in cinema history already. And boy, I can't wait to see what he does over the course of the next couple decades.
It's a very rare group of people who play the titular character in a $1 billion film.
Correct.
That's a small grouping of individuals.
Yeah, and did it so well. Did it in such a way
Yes.
that it was very, very memorable. And there's without that performance, that movie might still have done well, but it wouldn't be, I think, as memorable as it
Phenomenon.
is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was amazing, and I mean, he kept acting right until the end. Obviously, we just reviewed The Five Bloods here on the podcast recently. His role in that, I feel like, takes on a much
Yeah.
different significance now.
Wow.
And
yeah.
like the way
Oof.
he is shot in that movie is so like angelic and saintly in so many ways. Like he is such a cosmic being in that. By the way, practically like all of his major roles, like he's very good at playing legends.
Yes,
And
yes.
he just kind of did Jackie Robinson, James Brown.
Yeah.
There's so man, Thurgood Marshall too. Like I remember seeing Marshall, but Get On Up is a great music biopic that I feel like never got enough love. It's terribly sad. It feels like when Philip Seymour Hoffman passed away, a legend, somebody you knew was a legend. You were watching a legend in the making,
Yeah.
and then gone too soon.
Heath Ledger too, another one that this reminds me of.
Ledger,
Like someone so talented, like had just come off like one of the best performances of all time, and then now he's gone. And it's so shocking, especially this year of all years, to lose Chadwick Boseman feels like an especially painful loss. I
Yeah.
was just totally stunned by the news, and I think for a lot of people this last weekend, like our brains couldn't really handle it, because it's not even something that we had considered was even in the realm of possibilities that might happen. So anyway,
Yeah.
rest
And,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, and younger than me, which is hard for
Yeah,
me to
man.
hard for me to reckon with as well. There's a lot of discussion online about the surprise of it and not knowing he was even dealing with this, and there's part of me that really admires that. Like he kept a private life private. He was the face of hope for a lot of people. He was the face of this film that really meant a lot to a lot of young kids. And he always, in every public appearance that I ever saw, always shouldered that responsibility with grace
Yep.
and with
Mhm.
honor. And it just seemed like just a fantastic human being, as well as actor and performer.
Agreed. It seemed like he knew the weight of what was being given to him,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
there's a lot of honor in that.
Yeah.
There are a couple things I want to point out about like the online reaction to his passing that are it's just stuff that's floating around in my mind. One is that he had started to lose weight in his final days, and like photos of him had appeared online, and people were not very kind about his new appearance, or they
Right,
speculated or whatever. And I think it's just a reminder that like even for celebrities, you have no idea what they're going through, right? And like
Yeah.
when you see a photo of a celebrity online, or you see a celebrity in a video online that like they weren't in charge of releasing to the world, um, that you should just try to be kind. Just assume that you don't know what they're going through or what's happening, because like obviously he was battling cancer for the last few years, and he didn't disclose it, and that's obviously well within his rights to do so. But you just don't know what people are going through, and so
Yeah.
for me, his passing is a reminder that like we have no idea what people are going through, and we should always be kind. We should assume they're going through things that we can't possibly comprehend. So that's one thing. And then and the other thing is like I just said like battle with cancer, which is actually something I don't want to. Another thing, like a lot of people use the language of like war when it comes to cancer, and I'm trying to get away from that personally. So like shame on me for like breaking my resolution, but just like I think it's a bad analogy, like to
Sure. Yeah.
talk about it as in terms of war, and like they're battling and he lost the battle with cancer, because like I feel like it assigns values to these things, right? When
Or
values and
culpability.
morals to these things, when it's like it's really we shouldn't, like it's just
Yeah.
these things happen, and
It's not that anyone doesn't fight hard
yeah,
enough.
it's not he
It's never
couldn't fight
that.
hard enough, right? Exactly right, exactly right. And kind of on the flip side of that, there's this kind of mythologizing as well, of like the fact that this guy like worked his ass off, and that's amazing that he worked his ass off. And I am so grateful that he chose to spend his time that way. But also, it's like I don't think we should talk about it in a way that makes people who are suffering from cancer feel like they need to do that. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, these are just some things that like uh, the internet news cycle moves at light speed now, and so like there's already been like several cycles of like we're mourning his death online, the backlash to the morning of his death, like, and the backlash to backlash,
Yeah.
like all this stuff has already happened in the last few days.
Yeah.
And those are just some thoughts that I had.
This is a good time to take a break from the internet, but
that's right.
honestly, every time is a good time to take away.
Yeah,
From,
yeah,
just
totally
get
right.
away.
Totally
I want
right.
to shout out Robert Daniels' in memoriam. It's called "The Defiant Career of Chadwick Boseman, a Hollywood King." It's at Vulture. It's incredible.
Yeah, check that out. We'll link to it in the show notes. But Chadwick Boseman, gone too soon. Rest in peace. He will be missed. All right. The podcast must go on. A couple of other things I wanted to mention before we move on to the rest of the show. One of them is that a new movie opened in theaters this weekend, guys. New
You
Mutants.
don't say.
New Mutants.
That movie does not exist.
Which by all accounts,
on.
is a terrible, terrible movie. Like I've heard.
Yeah,
no one
but
say-
you know what? You guys all laughed when I put that as my #1 movie in the summer movie wager. And now with $7 million, I'm owning you guys.
That's
First
correct.
of all, it's terrifying to me, honestly, that $7 million worth of people went to go see New Mutants this weekend. But also, I've heard the movie is bad, and I just must implore you, like, yes, everyone's in a different situation. Maybe there's like no cases wherever you live, or maybe you subject yourself to stuff way more riskier than going to a movie theater on a daily basis. And you're a first responder or whatever, and seeing New Mutants is something that's gonna help you relax. I understand everyone has a very different situation, so like I'm not trying to be universal in this, but to the extent I can be universal, don't risk your life to go see New Mutants. You don't want to die or get a debilitating disease because of New
This
Mutants.
is how we're going to judge all movies henceforth.
I've heard
Is it worth it?
It's not worth getting a debilitating disease, is what I understand. It's almost like perverse that it's possible to get a debilitating disease while watching New Mutants.
It's disgusting. Honestly, I couldn't think any less of how Fox has been treating, the X-Men movies, the X-Men franchise, but basically assuming some of the audience may get sick to go see this movie in theaters is a new low. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they usually
May
assume
get
the
sick and
audience is,
die, by the way. Yeah.
they usually assume the audience is going to get sick, but in a completely different way.
On that note, Tenet is out overseas. It's made $53 million in other parts of the world already, which
That's not
is
surprising.
pretty staggering. Pretty staggering.
It's
that
out. It's out
I think
at
that makes
some
sense.
U.S. theaters too. I see one theater near me that has.
That is correct. It is actually out early access right now. I could have gone tonight. to go see Tenet in an early access theater in the U.S. But this has led to a lot of people emailing the Slash Filmcast saying they've seen Tenet.
Yes, a lot of
and wanting to
people.
share their thoughts. And let me just say this: don't, please, because I will not read the emails. They will go straight in the trash. So basically, that's a great way of getting your emails sent straight to the trash. Is emailing it? It basically, if you mention Tenet, any movie, any email that mentions Tenet, Christopher Nolan, the movie after Dunkirk, like any of that stuff, is just going
Also,
straight into the spam box, folks.
You'll go on the block list and you will never see your letters ever again.
Yes,
Never again.
Any movie, any block senders list, anything that mentions Tenet. So keep that in mind, folks. All that said, if you do want to contact us, it's slashfilmcast@gmail.com. So, all right. So that's what's going on in the world right now. But please stay. Like I basically I'm saying, like, I think I trust people to like make their own decisions and assess their own risk. But please be safe. Don't be stupid, and don't risk your life, especially to see a bad movie. But try not to risk your life to see any movie at all. And those are my thoughts. All right, let's move on to what we've been watching this week. Jeff Kanata, tell us some stuff you've been watching.
Well, I checked out a new documentary on the old HBO Max. Woo! HBO Max, the service that forces me to boot up a different device. Boy, do I love HBO Max.
Because it's not on your Apple TV or something?
It is on my Apple
It's on
TV. It's
Apple
not on
TV,
my
yeah.
Roku.
Oh,
I despise my Apple TV. Oh, do I hate my Apple TV. I think the interface on the Apple TV is atrocious.
Jeff, will you send me your Apple TV? Because I want another HBO Max device.
Yeah, I absolutely will. I actually will, Devendra. I legitimately will. We'll talk offline.
Okay.
The movie I watched, though, on the HBO Max is called Class Action Park. This is a documentary about something I had never heard of because I'm born and raised in California. I grew up in the Bay Area.
Oh, Jeff.
Never
man.
heard of this thing. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
But evidently, it's a big deal for people that grew up on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It
It's
is
a legend. Yeah.
I've learned in this documentary. It is about this place called Action Park, which was in New Jersey in the 80s and early 90s. And oh my goodness, was this David Chen is the definition of a good sit for me. You know, this is an hour and a half, a brisk watch, and it's a documentary. I'm not trying to take anything away from its documentary-ness. In fact, it really takes a turn about 2/3 of the way through and gets real serious. But for a large portion of this movie, it's just people sitting around telling stories of this crazy place.
It's all fun and games until somebody's beheaded. You know?
until somebody or dozens of somebodies get hurt. So Action Park was this place in New Jersey that was a combination water park / motor park. Like it had two sections bisected by an actual highway in New Jersey. A real highway cut this place in half, and on one side of it was this water park, and on the other side of it was a theme park built all around motorized things, motorized cars, buggies, go-karts, tanks, motorized boats, all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay. So for one low entry fee, you get to do all of that. And what the documentary reveals is the fella who created and designed this place and ran this place and owned this place was a real weird dude who liked to just make stuff without engineers and cared not about regulation or the government. And
or the sanctity of human life, we should say.
Yeah.
Or
What we really need is an unregulated theme park. That's a great idea. Yeah.
The way I described this to my friends when I was recommending it to them is that everything that when people are scared to go on rides at theme parks, the thing they think it is, which it never is what this place is.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff, let me tell you, okay, on the East Coast, we really didn't have much. We didn't have Disneyland, a short drive away. We had class action park, and we had like a lot of other things. It wasn't Six Flags, but Massachusetts has Riverside Park. Connecticut had this crappy little thing called Quasi, which is the worst. We had crap. So yeah, this place was legendary. I've never been, but I knew a lot of people who had gone and have terrible stories. It is the thing to be afraid of.
It really is a place where people would go and get injured. There were no rules. There was very little supervision. The place was run by a bunch of teenagers. They hired underage people to work there and fraternize there. And the whole documentary, 90% of the documentary is just like wacky stories of all the crazy stuff that went down. And
Yep.
it is highly watchable. My favorite bit is talking about this insane 7-story tall water flume that turns into a loop-de-loop.
Yeah.
And they literally no engineer was involved in the design of this thing.
It is a crusty land creation of a thing.
It was literally just cobbled together because the owner was like, I bet we could do that. He drew it on a napkin and then they built it and then they used the teenage employees to test it. And they all like got beat up and bloodied and bruised and lost teeth because they would go at ridiculous speed down this thing in the dark. By the way, it was a completely enclosed tunnel. So you go and you enter, you go at insane speed in complete pitch darkness.
Yeah.
And then you enter this loop-de-loop. And when you get to the top of the loop-de-loop, it's not like a roller coaster where the wheels are attached to the track. Gravity just takes hold and they come slamming down on the top of the loop-de-loop, knocking their heads and faces and teeth, and then they come splurting out the other side all bloodied and beat up, and the designer's like, okay, well, let's keep it going. Insane. And that's just one of dozens and dozens of stories and attractions that this place comprised. I found this highly entertaining. It also was a love. There's so much wonderful like archival footage of the place in action. So you see all these people in the early 80s, you know, gallivanting around and being just so dumb. And then actual people died. Like multiple people, like 6 or 7 people died dead at this place, and they somehow kept running. It's a fascinating documentary that I highly recommend.
Okay, so I have some thoughts. I don't disagree with anything Jeff Kanata just said. I think that's all true. But I think he's underselling it. I think the documentary is actually about a couple things that Jeff Kanata has not really indicated. One is that it's a fascinating look back at the kids of the 80s. And what I mean by that is the kids of the 80s, like there were no cell phones back then, right? So like parents,
Can you
you'd
imagine?
like
Can you fucking imagine?
Yeah, so you hey mom and dad, I'm going over to my friend's house, and then the kids would just leave for like 8 hours, and you have no idea what happens to them during that
And
time,
none of
right?
the parents gave a damn.
No one cares. No one cares.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it's
I would say I had some of that in the 90s too, but the 80s seemed like a very special time. Like
I
even
lived that,
more
dude.
unrestrained. Yeah.
I
and-
remember, dude, getting a bike. Like, you know, you watch E.T. and you see how much those kids loved their bikes. I lived that. Once you had a bike, as long as I was home for dinner, my parents didn't care where I was.
What could go wrong?
Yeah,
You know?
I remember going on we call this place Hill 13, and it was this suburban housing development that got abandoned, and so it was like just the foundation on these platforms on this kind of hill that it had these different levels where each house was going to be going up the hill, right? And we would go there on our bikes and just ride around, and I remember eating shit so hard there that I was completely torn up. Like I fell in this briar of thorns and bushes, and I was all sliced to hell. And my only course of action at that point was to walk my bike home.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember just being covered in blood, walking my bike home, and these people in cars would like slow down and stare at me through the window and then speed up and leave. I was just like, what's the bloody kid doing? Nobody was stopping and helping me. It was so funny. But that was life, man.
Yeah.
You're like, childhood, back when I was bloody
Yeah.
walking home.
I
Yeah,
had
but
I
it's
had
like
the
Yeah.
liberty to injure myself.
it's the last generation, most likely, that will ever be raised in that way. And Action Park was kind of the embodiment, the live embodiment of that style of
The
Mhm.
commercialization of that style is what it was.
It's like you'd go with your friends to Action Park and you might die, and everyone was just okay with that. Everyone had accepted that as part of the social contract.
Hey,
Not only-
we've gone
not-
full
it's not-
circle. Now that's how we feel about movies, right?
Yeah,
It's
no
great.
kidding. It's not
Great.
just that people would accept it, Dave. I think that was the draw. Like
Yeah.
that
Yep.
was
Yeah.
because when you're a kid, like you want to push that line, push that boundary, and go right up against like how close can I get to death? You know, because you think you're invincible, and so it's like I'm gonna do the stupidest thing I could possibly do, and live to tell about it. And yeah, I got all these scrapes and broken bones, and that kind of
Mhm.
was that was the feature, not the bug. You know.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah, yeah.
sure.
So, and the other thing is, I think it's a pretty interesting portrait of this guy who ran Action Park, who the documentary alternately portrays him as both a kind of wild Doc Brown-esque genius and also a sociopath, right? And
Yeah.
and you have to kind of choose which portrait like aligns with your beliefs in the world, or maybe you believe in both. But anyway, it's a really interesting watch, and I would also recommend it as well. The movie is Class Action Park, and it's available right now on HBO Max.
The one thing I just want to quickly add is that I kind of described that guy whose name I can't recall right now, but the owner, creator of Action Park. I kind of described him as what if Donald Trump was Walt Disney?
Mm.
You know what I
Not a
mean?
bad
Right.
way of describing it. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, parks like Action Park brought people together, and you know what else brings people together, guys?
What, Dave?
Nice gifts that you give people. And you know what is a nice gift you might want to consider giving someone, Jeff Canada?
What, Dave?
A painting. Not
painting?
Not only a paint, not just any painting though. Not just
I don't
any
know how to
painting.
paint though, Dave. I don't know how to paint.
It's true. It's true.
I
Most
have
people
no painting skill.
most people only know how to like take photos using their phone, right? And
Yeah,
let me just tell you, right, that is a garbage present. Don't give someone a photo.
that won't
Wha-
bring anyone
Wow.
together.
Why give them a photo if you can give them an exquisite, expertly done painting of that photo through Paint Your Life, which is our sponsor for this week. Now, Paint Your Life is a company that creates a painting from a photo that you provide for them. You get a professional hand-painted portrait created from any photo at a truly affordable price.
Any
And-
photo, Dave? Like even a picture of the three of us?
It's true. It's true. Even a picture of the three of us, which, by the way, is a photo we submitted to Paint Your Life, and you can view right now at twitter.com/filmcast. That's twitter.com/filmcast. Check out the /filmcast Twitter account. It's one of the last few tweets we made. A painting of us to see the full power of this fully operational Paint Your Life sponsor. And yeah, it's you can choose from a team of world-class artists and work with them until every detail is perfect. It's what's great about it. I've gone through this process obviously to get a painting of us, and they really are good at checking in. They're like, hey, any modifications to the photo? Hey, here's like work in progress. Hey, like you want to improve the final painting. Like they really kind of have a high touch way because they know that if you're giving them something to paint, if you're submitting something to paint, you probably are going to give it to someone who's really important to you, and they understand that, and they're going to give the care and attention to that it deserves. So it's a quick and easy process. You get a hand-painted portrait in about 3 weeks, and you can send any picture, yourself, your children, your family, one of your favorite locations, a pet, or you can combine photos into one painting, which is what we did, thanks to /filmcast listener and friend Danish Syed, who combined 3 of us into one painting, which we then had painted. I'm sorry, one photo which we had painted. So, anyway, the results speak for themselves. I could keep telling you how awesome Paint Your Life is, but literally just go to twitter.com/filmcast and you can see the painting yourself, and you can decide how amazing it is.
Really amazing.
It's
It
amazing.
really truly is incredible.
It's amazing, and we are going to figure out a way to like auction off or give this painting away for charity. Haven't figured out exactly how to do that yet, but it is in the cards. That said, if you want to get a special deal for Slash Filmcast listeners, here's what you got to do. All right. There's a limited time offer. Get 20% off your painting. That's right, 20% off and free shipping. To get the special offer, text the word film to 64000. That's film to 64,000. Text film to 64,000. And one other thing I want to mention, at paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, which is a pretty big deal in my opinion. Guaranteed. So anyway, text film to 64,000. That's film to 64000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Jeff Canado, what else have you been watching this week?
Well, I'll tell you something that I didn't watch. How about that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
I like where this is going.
in the early 2000s, when I
Uh-huh.
first moved to Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
I was absolutely addicted to a show on the Discovery Channel called the Eco Challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I loved this. Now, my memory is going to probably betray me, but I seem to recall that it predated The Amazing Race. Amazing Race is a show I never got into, but my God, I loved the Eco Challenge. The Eco Challenge is a real race that was held with extreme athletes. These are highly trained professional hikers, kayakers, explorers, mountaineers. This was this extremely dangerous journey across untamed parts of the world where they had to navigate. They had to use all manner of different skills getting up and down extremely rugged terrain in extreme conditions. It was fascinating to watch it. And it was a real thing, I think, that existed before the television show ever did. And they were just recording this. And in fact, one of the things I loved most about it is meeting these personalities, these people that did this thing because they did it year after year. They were extremely good at it. And I'll never forget one of the episodes. There was an interview with one of the dudes that does this every single year, and I think all of the teams had to be co-ed. Anyway, and they were teams of 4, and one of the guys that they interviewed said some of the strategy that they used to reduce weight as they did this race, because every bit of extra weight that you carry, because you had to go into the wilderness, you had to go into crazy conditions carrying all the mountaineering gear you needed, all of the stuff you needed to survive for this like week-long race on you. And he would talk about, like, they cut the little plastic ends off their shoelaces.
Wow.
They would trim every little bit, zippers off of things. They would trim every little bit of stuff. And he goes, yeah, you don't think it matters, but when you pile it all in your hand, and he showed like all the stuff he'd cut off, it actually weighs, a pound or two, and that matters. And I was like, man, the commitment, the thinking, the variety of skills that they need to compete in this event, captivating, incredible. And again, you would see them, it was like year after year, the same groups would compete, and they had the names of the groups I would recognize, and the people. It was so cool. And the locations were wild and beautiful, and it just, these amazing parts of the world. Borneo, I remember Eco Challenge Borneo. It was so cool. So when I saw that Amazon Prime was bringing back the Eco Challenge as a show, I was over the moon. I'm not even joking. I literally put a calendar reminder on my Google Calendar to tell me when the show was going to premiere, because I saw it was coming out in August. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It was going to be called The World's Toughest Race. I'm like, yeah, it was The World's Toughest Race. I loved watching that. You see where this is going?
I don't actually, because I worked on this show, Jeff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. But I'm
I
curious. I'm
sat down-
curious.
Keep going. Keep
I
going.
Yeah,
sat
keep
down to
going.
watch this, so excited. Got my popcorn, cut the ends off my shoelaces. I was ready to go. And I turned this thing on at the beginning. It's like, welcome to the world's toughest race. We have 60 teams of amateurs who are. I'm like, what? What? Where there are all manner of people thrown into a situation that they're not prepared for. Woohoo! What? They turned this into a fucking reality show, dude. This is a reality show. Now, I'm saying this because I promptly turned it off and threw my remote control across the room. So
And
it
curse
may
the
very
name
well
David Chen.
it may
Yeah.
very well still be an entertaining show, but I was so disgusted.
So you didn't
and-
even get through one episode, you're saying?
No, I didn't even get through 10 minutes of one episode. They had this like the beginning where they're like, on this season of the world's toughest race, Cheryl and her friends, they're used to partying, but we threw them into the. It's like, no, this was a show about professional, like the most extreme teams of the highly trained athletes. It was like this incredible test of the world's most prepared people, and they're like, Wacky Bill and his two buddies fell off the boat. Oh, and I was like, no, what have you done? This is garbage. This is reality TV garbage. So I'm sure we're gonna get a bunch of emails from people who are like, no, it's actually really good. And I don't care because the Eco Challenge I was so addicted to it. I loved it so much because it was serious. It kind of predated the reality TV race phenomenon. And so it wasn't like that. It felt like a documentary about, like The Last Dance or something. It was like a documentary about these professionals who all were super serious about doing something amazing, and not like, who's going to get the $1,000? Who's going to get immunity this week? Oh man, makes me so angry that this happened to this concept.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't like it, Jeff. I would just say maybe give it one episode before you dismiss it. You know?
I shan't. Have you watched it, Dave?
Yes.
Did you
I
enjoy it?
I cannot comment on that other than to say that
you can comment. You can
no,
comment.
I'll just say that you should give it a chance, Jeff. That's what
It's
I'll
a
say.
well-made program on a valuable streaming service.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Devindra. Yes, that's exactly how I feel about it. Anyway,
I'm
that's
so angry. I'm
that's
so angry at
world's
it. I don't know if
toughest
I can get
race.
over that.
World's Toughest Race Eco Challenge Fiji. It is available on Prime Video right now, and I think you'll probably have a better experience than Jeff.
Yeah, probably.
All right, Jeff. Do you want to talk about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure stuff right now?
No,
or
I'm
do you
sure
wanna-
we'll talk about it during our review. I just wanted to
Yeah,
mention that I rewatched the first movie in preparation.
Okay, cool.
I did both.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
So I'll mention a couple things I've been watching recently. First of all, I had an Amazon watch party with my old boss at Prime Video. We watched Over the Top together. Have you guys seen Over the
Yep.
Top?
Stallone, right?
Yeah.
Stallone.
Arm
Yeah.
wrestling.
This is a super 80s movie that I'd never seen before.
He installed in his big rig truck. He installed a rope and pulley system so he could never stop training for arm wrestling, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you want to get over the top.
Yeah. It's like his version of Karate Kid, kind of almost.
Yeah, totally. Because he's got the special move, right? It's not
Right.
a crane kick. It's like a rotation of your thumb that looks like a cheat a little bit.
I don't
It's-
think you can do that. Yeah.
Also,
It's-
why not just start with that position?
You gotta build up.
Why
to
don't
it.
why don't people in Fast and Furious just hit the nos immediately, Jeff? You know? So anyway, Over the Top. It's a fun movie. It's very, very cheesy. It's very, very 80s. I had a great time watching it with some friends. And it's
Does it hold up? I mean, is it? I mean, I know it's kind of goofy. Even was
It's
goofy
not a
back
good
then.
movie.
But
No.
you said you enjoyed it very much. Is it because you watched it ironically, or you
I don't
genuinely
know.
enjoyed it?
I don't know. It's kind of like at this point I've seen dozens of things that parody 80s movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just always nice to see kind of like what was one of the things that originated that form of parody, right?
Mm,
It's like what
yeah.
was the thing that was behind the funny version of the thing. And so that's what I got when watching Over the Top. And also, by the way, like, I'll just say I have never seen another movie in my life that's about arm wrestling. This is the
Yeah,
only
definitely
movie.
an underserved community.
It's an underserved community of like why, and it's like why isn't there? I guess because people have decided it's not a very cinematic sport.
It's
right?
also so dumb.
Where's the murder ball level documentary
Wait,
about
Jeff,
arm wrestling?
Jeff, why do you think it's dumb? It's feats of strength.
Yeah.
Two often men feats of strength going up against each other. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the slap fighting thing? That's a thing that's kind of looks like arm wrestling, where they sit at the table and they just slap each other across the face until somebody passes
No,
out.
but I do feel like it was only a matter of time until our television entertainment reached that point where you're just watching the slap show. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is a real sport that people take part in. They slap each other until one person can't continue.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I did this
anyway.
in grade school, but now it's a sport. Okay.
Over the Top is available right now on Prime Video, and it was fun. It was fun. The Good Liar. This is a movie that Jeff Kanata talked about on the podcast like 8-9 months ago.
Right.
It just hit HBO Max, and so I'm like, I'll check out The Good Liar because the trailer, it's directed by very well respected director Bill Condon, right? It stars two amazing actors.
I believe I
Yeah.
told you not to watch this though.
I mean,
I did not-
certainly you weren't complimentary about it,
No.
but
I think the setup of this movie sounds really interesting. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing it, even though you didn't like it, Jeff.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
telling
yeah.
you guys, it's
Yeah.
bad. Avoid this movie.
So I am not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say that there is shit that happens in the last. I mean, the movie's like 2 hours long, and in the last hour, there are so many reversals that I'm just like, it's dizzying. And the movie is complete nonsense, and it's
Yeah, I was gonna
actually
say don't say the reversals are dizzying, because then people are like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. It's not awesome.
I would say the movie is actively bad. Is how I would
Yes.
describe it. It is
Yes.
actively bad because it's one of those movies where like the stuff that's introduced at the end they did not build up to at all in the first half, right? So it's like,
Right.
oh, they're going for shock value, and it's just like this is terrible. And the thing they use for shock value is stuff that's been used many times before in movies, and it is very upsetting. And I don't like it, and they did it in a very bad way. And I'm actually
Ugh.
surprised that the people who are involved in this movie agreed to make it.
Yeah, no, I
Now,
agree.
now
I-
I'm even more intrigued. Please,
feel
sign
like-
me up.
No, Dimitri, you're getting the wrong message from all of this. I feel like Ian McKellen and
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren, they're just like, they take calls from Bill Condon and they'll just do whatever he asks, right? They weren't discerning in their. This is a bad script. This was a bad
Yes,
script.
It is just total nonsense. It just
and
makes
even their
absolutely
amazing,
zero sense. This
zero
movie.
sense. It is insultingly bad.
It's
And-
insulting.
So what I'm hearing is Oakley Dokley.
No,
I have to see this movie.
you're getting the wrong impression.
I'm gonna say this. The sheer volume of twists did make this movie remarkable in my opinion. It's not
No,
just
Dave,
like,
you're
oh, there's
doing it-
one big.
no.
It's not just like there's one big twist at the end. There's just like twist after twist, and I'm just like, whoa, like body blow, body blow, body blow, haymaker. Like that's how I felt. I felt, rather
No.
beaten up by this movie.
I just added it to my queue.
Damn it. Damn it.
Anyway, that's The Good Liar. It's available right now on HBO Max.
Hey, I don't want to say that I'm checking my Twitter during the show, but I'm already getting tweets about the world's most dangerous race.
Oh, good. World's toughest race. I think.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
People
You
are saying
should-
it's good.
Yes.
Watch it, and
Yes.
it makes me more angry.
friend of the podcast, Miles McNutt, who by the way watches and
Oh.
talks about TV for a living,
Miles
recommended it.
can be a harsh critic, so that is
Yeah,
something.
He said it was
Come
good.
on.
He said it was good. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh,
Alan Kwan says, "I'm a fan of the original show. I think you'd like the new Eco Challenge. It's not what you think it is.
I think it's more the heartbreak. You can't get over the heartbreak, Jeff.
I
Like,
can't.
I feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Sorry. Go ahead.
watch like a couple episodes, Jeff. Okay, please. All right. Anyway, finally, a few weeks ago on the podcast, I talked about a couple movies, Samsara and Baraka.
Mhm.
And these are movies directed by Ron Frick. They're like abstract movies. There's no dialogue. It's just a series of compositions and images and video, time lapse and stuff like that. And in the Slack Filmcast, a user who goes by the name of Space Jimmy Smits and has as his profile photo an image of Jimmy Smits in the Star Wars prequels. He
You guys, I don't think that's really Jimmy Smith's. So.
I think it's a space
Just
version of
letting
him.
you know.
And me talking about Samsara and Baraka, which are great films, really resonated with him. And he said, Dave Chen, you should go see Kronos, which is Ron Frick's other movie. It's kind of he made a trilogy of movies. Kronos is this movie he made in 1985. Kronos is completely unavailable for streaming anywhere. Like you can't even buy it. You can't buy a Blu-ray in a normal store. Like you can't go to Amazon or Best Buy or whatever and buy a Blu-ray of Kronos. And so I'm just like, oh, that's too bad. I mean, I love Baraka and Samsara, but I'm just never going to see Kronos. Sure. The only way you can get Kronos is by spending like $40 on a Blu-ray on eBay. You buy it used. And Space Jimmy Smits was like, Dave Chen, I want you to see Kronos. And he Venmo'd me enough money to buy a Blu-ray off of eBay.
Hey, wait a minute here. What's going on in this Slack film cast?
Yeah, so thank you
like
to Space Jimmy.
Movie donated just to Dave? What?
Thanks
Dave can't talk about movies on Amazon Prime streaming, but he can talk about movies that Space Jimmy Smits is funding.
That's correct. That's correct. So thank you to Space Jimmy Smits for hooking me up with Kronos. And it is, in fact, very good. It's not as good as Baraka or Samsara, which are like... Baraka, as I mentioned, is like one of the best-looking Blu-rays ever made in the history of mankind. Samsara looks beautiful. This one does not look quite as good, but it was also shot in 1985. So
I'm surprised there's a Blu-ray of this.
Yeah, I mean, the one I got, the cover of the Blu-ray had water damage. So who knows what that Blu-ray has been through. But yeah, Kronos, if you can get your hands on it, it's a solid entry into the Ron Frick trilogy of impressionistic movies featuring footage. So
I have to say, I love it when I hear about a movie that is hard to get, because then I'm like, yeah, now I want it.
Yeah,
now
same.
I want this this movie. So
it kind of is like, it kind of lets you have like a little quest, right? Like a little. But I mean, this is a thing where it's like everything is available online right now. Even buying it off eBay is not that hard. It used to be before eBay and Amazon. Like you'd have to go to like flea markets and garage sales and stuff like that. And that really gave it a charm. Hunting for these things really was a charm compared to what it is today. The mystery is all gone.
I'm reminded of when I had to like run to Yes Asia or other sites to get imported Asian movies. And in fact, I may still have to do that for a movie I just learned about that I really want to see. And then you're dealing with region locks and you're dealing with all this other stuff.
Right.
But that adventure makes it all the more tasty once you finally get to see it.
Agreed. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask though, I feel like this is a very slippery slope if we allow this to stand, because what's next? Space Corbin Burnson, Space Jill Eikenberry, Space Harry Hamlin supplying us with.
These are some like deep cuts, Jeff. But okay,
yeah, where are you going here?
Yeah,
it's the cast of Space LA Law is what that is.
Nice. So
wow. I thought you were going to go with like all the bit actors in the Star Wars prequels that we've forgotten about. So like,
no, I like
Space Keira Knightley. She's in there.
Space Keira Knightley. I like the idea that there's a Space LA Law spinoff. Where they're like, we needed to establish
space law.
Law here in a Hollywood in the sky.
Yeah. Devindra was just talking about a mystery, like how can you get your hands on a Blu-ray for Kronos, and like it's kind of you kind of got to hunt around. You know what else is a mystery? When is the last time Jeff Kanata shaved his pubic region?
Oh, you stole it from me. You stole it.
I didn't think we were going to talk about this on air, but okay.
You just jumped in and stole my transition. How dare you? How dare you? And the answer is Manscaped, our new sponsor, Manscaped. Oh my goodness! I gotta tell you about Manscaped. Do you guys shave your balls? Do you shave your balls? When's the last time you shaved your balls?
I will not confirm or deny, but I would say it sounds pretty freeing. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in quarantine.
Yeah.
In quarantine, I know how it is. I know how it is in quarantine. We're not doing the grooming that we should. I certainly am not. I haven't had a haircut since I don't know, 2019, I think. But guess what? I am grooming a special place just for me. You know what I'm using? I'm using the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0, the premium electric trimmer that's designed to give you a confidence boost in your down low parts. That's right. The ceramic braid and skin safe technology are designed to reduce nicks and tugs on your low hanging friends, right? You don't want those.
This sounds better than my current strategy, so please go on.
Oh, Devindra, you got to listen up, right? Because I'm sure there are times when you have attempted some grooming and things did not go as well as you had hoped.
Yeah.
But the lawnmower 3,
you know, sometimes you think there are parts of the body that you probably shouldn't be grooming. So I wanted the safe method, please.
yes, a safe method. The lawnmower 3.0, waterproof, comes with an LED light so you can see down there in your nether regions when things are darkened. You can manscape in the shower. You can manscape in the shower with the lights off. Who knows? You can do a little light show for yourself, whatever floats your boat. Plus, they just perfect add-on to the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. It's a 4-piece nail kit featuring tempered stainless steel tools, tipped tweezers, rounded point scissors, fingernail clippers, and a medium grit nail file. Do you want the heavy grit? No, too much grit. Do you want the light grit? That's not enough grit. You need the medium grit. Plus, you can find on their website the Crop Preserver, which is the anti-chafing ball deodorant. You do not want chafing on your balls. Let me tell you, it also moisturizes. You hearing that, Devindra? Moisturizes.
I'm taking notes, Jeff.
You'll
Yes.
also find the Crop Reviver, a testy toner that's like having cologne that's designed for your balls. How do they design cologne for your balls? I don't know. That's why you have to buy the product. What makes it different than cologne for your neck? I don't know. I want it. The Crop Reviver.
Reviver.
The Crop
Yeah.
Reviver. You'll find yourself sniffing in the down low because it smells so great. It's like having cologne. So go to manscaped.com, check out some of these life-changing products, and listeners to the /Filmcast will get 20% off plus free shipping with the code FILMCAST at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code FILMCAST, FILMCAST. It's time to grab 2020 by the horns by shaving the front trunk. I don't
Wow.
write them, I just say them.
Incredible.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jeff.
Mhm.
Let's move on to Devindra Harder. What have you been watching this week?
I have been catching up on The Legend of Korra, mostly for fun, but also because, as I mentioned last episode, I'm doing the Republic City Dispatch podcast with some of my old friends, Joanna Robinson, Dave Gonzalez, and Matt Patches. And I have to say, rewatching this show, which first premiered 8 years ago, this show is excellent. This show is incredible. And in fact, it is, the more I think about it, it's a show I actually prefer to The Last Airbender, which is
Wow.
also
What?
one of the best series ever made, right? The Last Airbender, Avatar The Last Airbender, is an incredible show. It's a work of art. It's brilliant. It's a great kids show. It's a great show for everybody. Legend of Korra, I feel like, takes a lot of those concepts and levels it up in a way. It really builds on the mythology of this world. Jeff, you're somebody I know who enjoys the like deep mythological cuts of fantasy narratives.
Yeah.
I think you will eat up this show because it goes
Well,
way back. It gives us a history of the Avatar world. It flashes forward in time a bit, so we go from like the sort of like feudal, maybe feudal Japan world of the past Avatar series into something that's more like I don't know, 1920s America or a big
Yeah.
city. Like it moves into a city, it moves into like modern society, and it talks about like how do you build a society? It's the entire show is really about how do you build a good society? Because Avatar: The Last Airbender was about this one special kid, Aang, the last Airbender, the last of his kind, fighting the evil forces in the world and trying to unite the world. This show is about, okay, you won, you beat the bad guy. Now you have to build a functioning government. Now you have to like figure out how to, maintain equality in a world where some people have freaking superpowers and most people don't. And the people that don't may feel a little miffed about that. It is such a great show. I love Legend of Korra so much. It's a great action show because the choreography is just like, it is straight up some of the best action choreography you'll ever see. Not just the martial arts, but also the superpowers, I think, are just really well done. The way they think of the fights, the way they stage them, it really, I think, taps into the limitless potential of animation. My metal benders that I love so much, who were kind of it was kind of a small thing in the original series. Metal bending is a big thing now. It's straight up like people feeling like Wolverine or characters from what's that anime series? Attack on Titan. It's a bit like that. There's so much good stuff. The animation is fantastic. The characters are great, and I love the villains in Legend of Korra. I've reached to season 3, which stars a guy. He is an anti-bending monk who is all of a sudden he's a criminal. He's a criminal being held in a jail on a mountaintop, and he gets airbending powers and he leaves to wreak havoc. And he's also voiced by Henry freaking Rollins. This show is insane. Also, Henry Rollins has a great voice. Like, that guy has great motivational speaker voice. He's been doing that for a while. This show is fantastic. I love it so much. Go watch Legend of Korra because it's on Netflix now. If you've just been rewatching Airbender, it's a perfect follow-up. Listen to us at Republic City Dispatch. Also want to throw a shout out to one more thing, which I don't really talk about YouTube channels that much, but I am finding myself just like leaving YouTube channels on in the background, especially now when like you can't just go to a cafe and have like background noise, and normal other people milling about in places where somebody will select music for you. So I've been spending a lot of time listening to My Analog Journal, which is a cool channel. It's I think it's like fairly popular. I think people who like music are into it. It's a channel where people just like stream records for like an hour. But what's really cool is that, it's stuff that the person doing the actual playlist actually enjoys. Sometimes they're deep cuts. They bring in people from all over the world, DJs from all over the world, to just like play a set for an hour. And it is a wonderful thing to do if you're tired of like, the algorithmic tunes you get from Spotify and everything, right? Music that kind of sounds like what you already like, because that's how our algorithms work. I kind of love just putting on My Analog Journal and just like listening to things I've never heard of and things you probably won't even be able to find on streaming. So be sure to check it out if you like if you miss like being in a cool jazzy cafe.
All right,
I'm
go ahead, Jeff.
sorry, I was gonna say I'm shocked that you would put Legend of Korra above Last Airbender.
I think I do. I think I love
Wow.
Last Airbender, but I love Korra even more because, well, it's a little more of a mature show too. So that's the thing. So it is
Yeah.
a little more grown up, and the characters are more conflicted. Whereas Airbender feels at times like a high level kids show, but there's nothing wrong with that. I love kids shows. This one just has Korra has a much more mature and like an older audience they're going for, and I think it's really the action. Also, it just kicks so much ass. Like, the action fan in me is always astounded by what's going on in this show. So they're both great. I just
felt
prefer
like
this one.
there's not a single episode of Last Airbender that I found to be a missed note or
Yeah.
or an off episode, but I felt like some of the spirit world stuff of Korra didn't
Mhm.
land with me.
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I hear that.
Well, that's the Legend of Korra season 1 through 3, as well as My Analog Journal on YouTube. That's what we've been watching this week. Before we get to our review, we got some weekly donors we want to thank. We got to thank Scott White, Andreas Engelhart, Blake Jordan, Rihan Kwaja, Sarah Garby, and David De La Rosa for contributing at the rate of a couple dollars per month. And thanks also to donor Steve Austin, longtime listeners. Thanks so much, Steve, for the very generous donation. And I have a few donor messages I'm going to read. This one comes in from Nolan. Nolan from Massachusetts writes, I just wanted to use this donation platform to urge anyone who watched Boys State to please go check out Dave's interview with Jesse Moss, as it was a fantastic interview with great insight into the film. Thanks for everything, guys. That was from Nolan from Massachusetts. And check out that interview at Culturally Relevant. My other
I
podcast.
listened. It's great, Dave. You did a really good job. And he was so interesting to listen to, and you really got the best out of him. So kudos.
Thanks, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, should I read this next part of this message here, by the way? Do you care about that?
If you want to, I don't.
So,
don't. if we want to. I have no recollection of what this was, but I don't do this lightly, so I have no idea what caused it.
So Nolan also writes, Jeff, please unblock me on Twitter. I promise never respond to any future Tom Brady slander. This is a thing. This is a thing sometimes where, like, you know, someone will say something, and I'll block them because they're, you know, they're being a jerk, and I'll block them, and then they'll find a way to apologize via email, and generally I accept their apology.
Yeah, be human. But I like this new strategy of you got to pay to get unblocked. That's how it works.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Just block everybody. It's
there's an unblock fee, basically.
Yeah.
So Jeff, do consider
I'm doing it right now,
this gentleman. Yeah,
I'm literally doing.
Oh, you're doing it right now. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Not that I ever checked Twitter during the show, as I previously mentioned, but
Okay.
I'm doing it now.
Okay, Bernie. Okay, so this message comes in. Your passion for films is contagious and inspiring. I tried naming my cat Devindra Dave Jeff, but my partner didn't like it. 3 beers on me, plus 1 for Peter Soretta from your devoted listener, Bernie Rao, director of Killer Sofa. P.S. You rock. Thanks for the donation, Bernie Rao. Appreciate that. Andy from Berlin, Germany writes, hey guys, this is long overdue since you're providing me with great entertainment, recommendations, and insightful reviews. Keep up the great work, and please send a shout out to my friend Patrick from Berlin in an episode who brought me to your podcast. All best to you, your friends, and families. Thanks to Andy from Berlin. Nico from Germany writes, I saw Tenet yesterday, and I haven't had such a good time at the movie since inception. While I agree you shouldn't risk your life to see it, with this donation, I want to support your idea to rent a complete movie theater with your bubble to see it. Thank you for the great podcast, despite your slow descent into madness.
Man, it's a bummer that this person's email is going to be blocked.
It's too bad. It's too bad. They're now blocked forever. Okay.
So we unblocked somebody and then we blocked somebody.
It's true,
as long as we're maintaining a balance.
The circle of life is complete. Deborah from Amsterdam writes in, hey guys, this email has been long overdue. For that, I apologize. Been a listener for the past 10 years. In fact, it was the first podcast I started listening to as soon as I discovered what a podcast even was. David, you finally made me decide to do it when you talked on Culturally Relevant about how the only thing you had to offer that was completely unique was yourself and your experiences. I 100% agree with what you said, not only because I'm still listening to you guys after 10 years and have since discovered other podcasts, but also because I care about you in a sense that I consider you long-distance friends. You've been with me through college, several relationships and breakups, many moments of self-doubt, road trips, life-changing decisions, you name it. You all make me laugh through it all while giving such a big part of yourselves back. Yes, I love movies and I love your reviews even when I don't agree with them, but at the end of the day, you three are what keeps me coming back. Never change. A big thank you from Deborah from Amsterdam. What a kind message. Thank you,
That's
Deborah.
nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
You
Thank
guys
you,
ever
Deborah.
think we've been doing this for too long? Like just
Every single week.
when people talk about, like, I've lived an
Every-
entire life while listening to your podcast.
This is
Every
your
week.
takeaway.
Every week.
It's such a big part of my life. I love you. Demetrius like, we should quit.
Yeah.
There are teenagers that didn't exist when we started
Yes.
this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, Mark Hayes from Brooklyn, New York writes, the show has become a complete mess and I love it. Mark,
Great.
I resent that notion. Just going to put that out there.
Yeah,
I
why
think
do you
it's
love it,
completely
Mike?
True. Come on.
We don't need your love, okay? We don't need your love.
We're a mess and we intend for you to not like it. So there.
All right, folks. Thanks for your contributions. If you want to support the /filmcast, go to paypal.me/filmcast, paypal.me/filmcast, or go to /film.com, click on the /filmcast tab, use the PayPal links on the side of the page. Let's get to weekly plugs. We're going to do weekly plugs. Let's do weekly plugs. Weekly plugs. Let's do weekly plugs.
Oh, that's the funky, groovy version. I like it.
It's very like Daft Punk, you know?
Nah, it
reminds me of
feels
Daft
a
Punk.
little more relaxed than that. It's like, yeah, weekly plugs. Let's settle in.
Thanks
Very
to Noah Ross for that music. Okay, so I want to just real quick again plug the interview with Jesse Moss I did, director of Boy State. He was very generous with his time. We talked for like over an hour about the movie. It was fascinating to learn from him about his experience making the film and also just becoming a documentary filmmaker. So check it out on Culturally Relevant, wherever your podcast can be downloaded. Devindra Hardawar.
And you
Oh,
should say
sorry.
also, Dave, that he directly comments on our episode.
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah.
I had listened to.
He listened to our review before I interviewed him. and directly comments and responds to some of the things in our review. So
That's great.
definitely
Yeah,
definitely
pretty
check it
cool.
out. He
Pretty
said
cool of him to
Jeff
do that.
Kanata is wrong. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I will leave it ambiguous as to which one of us he agreed with, but you should definitely check
Well, I
out
don't
the.
think he agreed with anybody. I think he just. It was cool that he responded to it. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was great, and I think he the fact that he didn't cancel the interview after listening to it is a good sign. So that's my weekly plug. How about you, Devindra?
What do we have to talk about? I got my hands on the Surface Duo, Microsoft's long-awaited dual-screen Android phone thingy. You can check that out over in Gadget. It was a fun thing to like sit and talk about with my colleague Chris Velasco, who reviews phones for us. The big downside is I couldn't turn it on because that's how the review embargo works, and Microsoft had a sniper rifle pointed at my head at all times. So
So
Well,
you're supposed to review it without turning it on?
No. So
Well,
basically,
no,
okay,
just
okay.
this.
There's a
Yeah.
glass half full and a glass half empty way of viewing
Yes.
this. Okay.
Yes.
The glass half empty way is, hey, they are able to review the hardware publicly or talk about the hardware publicly without talking about the experience of using the software and using
Yes.
the device. That's
Because
a glass.
it's just when we first get it.
So there's basically like two embargoes now, right? It's like the hardware and then the software. That's a glass half empty review way of looking at it. Glass half full way is in the before times, you couldn't even say that you
get
had the
nothing.
hardware.
You get nothing for 3 weeks, basically, right?
I see.
So
Yeah.
I did this on YouTube. We're experimenting, doing more like live hands-ons and stuff from my little basement office here. And I feel like half of the comments were just, "Can't turn it on, just turn it on." I'm like, guys, I can't help you, but I can tell you that this Gorilla Glass 5 cover feels really silky smooth on my hands. And somehow we went for 40 minutes
Turn it
without turning
on.
this on.
Why aren't
So-
you turning it on?
But
Just
in all
to
seriousness,
answer
the
those
Surface Duo
comments,
is
so
one of the most
funny.
interesting tech products to be
It's
released this
beautiful.
year. So
That's a device I could easily talk for an hour, honestly, without turning it on because it's wild. I'm really digging it. I had it for about like 4 or 5 days because I want to write something about it. But I shipped it off to our reviewer who's gonna be doing the full thing. She was on vacation, so I had it for a little bit. So check out Engadget for the Surface Duo hands-on. Look for our full review in the next few weeks. And I really love this thing. It's so wild. This is like, the big phone change I've been waiting for a very long time. So check that out.
Jefferson Kanata, what's your weekly plug?
We got a big week of video game news because Gamescom happened, even though people can't travel to Germany and there was no
Right.
actual physical
Was that
conference.
news, Jeff? Because I also sat through the Gamescom stuff, and man, that was a hard 2 hours.
Well, it's 2 hours and there was a lot of things, and we break it down for you in the new episode of the DLC podcast,
Yay!
my video game show. So don't tell people that there wasn't anything cool because there's lots of stuff we talked about. We actually had a really great guest, Lana Bashinsky, who's from Riot Games. She's
Mhm.
always a fantastic guest on the show, and we had tons of fun talking about all of the announcements, poking fun at some of them, and really looking forward to all of the things that are happening at the end of this year and beyond in video games. So if you're interested in video games and you haven't yet tried my show DLC, give it a shot. DLC, you can find. Thank you. Both of my current co-hosts on this program have been guests on that show multiple times. You can find it at 5by5.tv/DLC.
Before we move on to the review, I gotta acknowledge this email that was written into /filmcast@gmail.com that I literally received in the inbox 0 minutes ago, according to Gmail. The subject line of the email is so wrong about World's Toughest Race. This comes in from John from Salt Lake City.
I love how that we're getting a response in real time.
John writes in, let me start by saying I've never listened live as the times never worked out for me. I don't think I've ever written in either. However, tonight I finally had a chance to check out the live broadcast, and right when I joined, Jeff Kanata started talking about World's Toughest Race, only quickly to realize he was going to crush my heart. I almost always agree with Jeff, but this time my jaw dropped to the floor. It was like I was living in an alternate reality. I have no clue what show Jeff was watching. It was not the same one that I watched. The show was filmed with professionals, many of whom have ran the race for decades. The team that tips their boat in the first few minutes is actually leading the adventure racing team in the world. The leading adventure racing team in the world. Yes, there were many racers that this was their first Eco Challenge, but they were all still professionals, such as the best Ironman racers trying to prove they can do the Eco Challenge. That is how all the Eco Challenges were. It's fun to watch the professionals crush the course, but also some stories are so heartwarming, such as the son taking his dad with onset Alzheimer's on his last eco challenge. The themes and messages of hope, love, and supporting each other are 100% on Jeff Kanata's brand, or on brand for Jeff Kanata. There are very minor elements of reality TV due to Bear Grylls narrating and sticking his nose in the action, but that is so minor. I highly recommend taking another look, as you are missing out on one of the best experiences of the year.
Wow.
That's John from Salt Lake City writing into slashfilmcast@gmail.com with some real-time follow-up.
Well,
Real-time SmackDown. Wow.
based on the almost 2 full minutes that I watched of the series, I don't know if that tracks.
You basically turned it off right before they introduced professional teams. I feel like
Pretty
that's what
much the
happened.
truth. I mean, I don't know if I made this clear earlier, but I was so angry. So angry.
Well, Jeff, if that email will not convince you to give it another chance, I don't know what can. So
It's like somebody being like, I'm going to tune into the new Batman movie. And they're like, Batman's a kangaroo now. And it's like, no!
Robert
That's how it felt.
Pattinson, what?
Robert Pattinson. That's funny. The thing that I like
Wasn't
so
he in
much.
Twilight? And
The thing
and
that
your
I-
reaction to World's Toughest Race is equally in depth, Jeff.
I guess
anyway.
I walked into that one. The thing I was going to say, the thing I like most about how this is playing out here is that it's probably saving us from a shit ton of actual emails. Because
Yes.
now people are hearing it. I mean, me hear it in real time, and you can save your typing fingers because it's already happened.
It's already
It's
happened.
already happened.
Yeah, that was me looking out for you, Jeff. Me looking
I
out for
appreciate. Well, also you for all the forwarding you were going to have to do.
you. All that forwarding. You know, I hate forwarding you messages critical of you, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our review of Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Bill, Ted, enough of the delusions. You didn't time travel, and you didn't go to heaven and hell. Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughters. Get real jobs.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Ted, we have a destiny to fulfill.
Greetings, my excellent friends. We have a problem.
Step forward. A song created by Preston Logan, performed tonight, will save reality as we know it.
Oh. Dude, we better write that song now. Or why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
And take it from ourselves.
Except, won't that be stealing?
Cheers! How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
That was from the trailer for Bill and Ted Face the Music, the new movie by Dean Pariseau. I'm going to read the plot summary from IMDb. Once told they'd save the universe during a time-traveling adventure, 2 would-be rockers from San Dimas, California, find themselves as middle-aged dads, still trying to crank out a hit song and fulfill their destiny. So, folks, as we alluded to earlier, this is the sequel that nobody asked for, and we didn't necessarily feel like it needed
Speak
to
for
answer a lot of
yourself,
questions from the previous films. That said, this is the closest thing, other than Trolls World Tour, this is probably the closest thing we got to like a mid-budget film with visual effects that you could actually
Sure,
watch at home in
It
the
wasn't
last
an action movie. Yeah.
3 months. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm like the other one I could think of is like King of Staten Island, right? But like, you know, this one actually has like some visuals, some CG. So
Yeah, we're going through CG withdrawals, man.
yeah.
I need that
Jones-
CG.
Any little bit. Look at that blue light. Yeah.
I
missed
need
it.
blue beam in sky, guys. I need my blue beam in sky.
Yeah,
Now listen. When it's a blue beam from Dean Parasat, then I'm like, okay, now we're
When you-
somewhere.
when you pump me full of blue beam in sky over a 10-year period, and then all of a sudden there's no blue beam in sky in the summertime months, what do? I got the withdrawals. I need that blue beam in sky.
Agreed. Okay, so given all that, Devindra, you know, I mean, I guess let's start by talking about like what our relationship was to the other Bill and Ted movies. Like you guys rewatched, right? Like, what did you think?
Yeah.
How do you think these movies hold up? And did these make you want to see a third film? Devindra, let's start with you.
Well, they're definitely. I think they're both Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey are movies of their time. I loved Excellent Adventure as a kid. I watched it so many times. So going back and rewatching it now, i- it's a movie that doesn't make any sense, like at all. But it's so much fun and kind-hearted and lovely, and I love the characters. And I love like the vibe of it. That I still really dig it, except for the like random gay panic moment, which happens there and in Bogus Journey, which is a shame. It's a shame, and I don't know if like the writers ever like commented on that. But also, hey, that's a reflection of where things were back then too. Like these two bros. This is a series about two guys who are just in love with each other. They do everything together. They propose to their wives together. Like the core crux of this movie, by the way, or the new movie, is that they can't even really separate from each other in a way. But yeah, that whole gay panic thing never really quite sat well with me. Very weird to see that today, but I still love the first movie. Bogus Journey, it's not terrible. I don't think it's terrible, but I do think it kind of overstays its welcome in a bit. It doesn't really push that whole franchise forward at all.
It just, yeah, it is fascinating to reflect on how one of the things that Bill and Ted Face the Music does well is normalizing manly love, right? Like
Mhm.
there's just these two guys, they love each other, and that's cool, and it doesn't need to be sexual in any way, and we should accept more of it. The world would be better off if there was
Mhm.
more like acceptance and normalization of manly love.
Just
In my
let
opinion,
bros be bros.
let bros
Yeah.
be bros, let them love each other. All cool with that. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, just the premise is just so wild. It's a movie that only could have been made in its time, right? Which was
Yeah. Powered by the
in the
energy of the
80s, right?
80s and whatever else was going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
really feels like it was the product of like too many cocaine sessions in studio executive smoke filled rooms.
Well, it feels like somebody watched Terminator and went, wouldn't it be hilarious if it was Terminator, except they go back and the person who saves the world isn't awesome.
Right.
They're two doofuses from San Dimas,
Yeah.
And,
And
and
by
then
the
they
way,
made,
like-
and then they made that. They actually made
yeah,
that movie.
yeah.
I don't want to like say that the Bill and Ted movies are from like some weird executive pipe dream. Like they're from Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, two guys who went on to like write some of the biggest, some pretty major movies at least, right? Like Men in Black was
Men
at
in
least Ed
Black,
Solomon.
amazing
Yeah.
movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know Jeff loves that one. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's. I don't want to be unfair. These guys are
It's
very, very
like
talented.
that's what I think is really unique about Excellent Adventure is it is such a wild thing. Like none of this should work. These two like surfer bros like on a journey where they're like basically slackers who are trying to save the world in some way by doing literally nothing. It should be annoying, but like the sheer personality of Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter like really sold it. I think the script was funny, like so many little things. It just really works. One more thing in Excellent Adventure that doesn't quite work is the whole was it Bill's dad marrying a high school aged girl thing.
I
Like,
mean, it
that
makes
is
for a couple of
super
funny
creepy.
jokes where it's like, didn't I ask your mom to prom? Remember when I asked your mom?
It makes
Man,
for that, and then it's like the scene where he's in Bill's bedroom, closing the door slowly on this, much
that
younger
seems
girl. I feel
really
like
weird.
our,
Yeah.
our ideas of age separation, especially when it's like a vastly much older man and a really really young woman, are very different now, and that doesn't feel good. But at least that joke, I think they pull off actually pretty well in Face the Music too. But we'll talk more about that.
Jeff, any reflections on the first two films before we get to the third one?
I was shocked how much of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure I have memorized.
Yeah, man,
Shocked.
it was on
I had
TV all the time.
it was
all
a
the time.
surreal experience to me. Like that scene, I'm sitting there with my wife watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Haven't seen it in 20 years, maybe. I don't
Sure,
know,
sure.
maybe not that long, 15 years. And it comes on, and I'm saying the lines along with the movie. And I go, I knew that whole scene. And then the next scene comes on, and I know that whole scene. And I'm like, I don't even remember that I remember this, but I know these scenes by heart. It was very, very surreal to me. I knew this movie, like all of the exchanges, the like goofy back and forth exchanges of I'm not going to be able to recall it, but in the moments I was like saying
It's
the
so
lines.
memorable, you can't even recall it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be in that moment.
you have to be in the moment. But man, yeah, this was clearly a big part of my cultural upbringing. You know, it was it clearly was a big movie for me. I mean, I knew it was, but
Yeah.
I didn't remember just how much I had obviously seen it.
Let me just say, Jeff, this, by the way, is how I thought everybody in California talked and acted all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Good to know that you also found it to be your Bible. So great.
it's super fun. It is not a good movie, right? It is not a
It doesn't make sense.
good movie,
Yeah.
but I think if you're I don't know how old I was when it came out, but like 11, 12, it's perfection. You know, it's these goofy guys who, like you said, I think you used the perfect phrase, Devindra, kind-hearted. It is a completely uncynical movie, and we don't have very many of those these days. You know, it was in a time when cynicism really wasn't in the mainstream like it is now, and they sold this idea of just sort of being these guys and
be
being
excellent
sort of,
to each other.
Yeah,
It's a driving
exactly.
philosophy, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's so simple, so pure, you
Yeah.
know. And
It was
apparently
great.
we couldn't really cut that as
Yeah.
a society, but hey.
Yeah.
So
glad that these
Devindra,
guys are back.
what are your thoughts on Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Well, you know, guys, I never thought a Bill and Ted movie would make me cry. But I feel like we are there. And that's kind of what I was getting at before when I said, like, you ever think we're doing this for too long? Because that is essentially the whole thing of Bill and Ted Face the Music, of like these guys being middle-aged, not fulfilling the prophecy from the great George Carlin, you know, like just not being the ones to really unite the world. Their marriages, you know, are not going super well. Like there are some issues, and clearly they have some like weird codependency issues that I think makes for a really fun scene in the psychiatrist's office in this movie. I love this movie. It is hilarious. Nothing about it should work. This movie should not exist. It should not be so much fun. But it's also like thematically appropriate to where we are now, because it really pushes the idea of be excellent to each other all the way home in a way that feels like it's something that could save us, you know, as a universe and not just as a society. It is just so much fun, and I love the way they bring in the daughters. I love the way they bring in the older characters. Anthony Carrigan, our favorite Serbian mobster.
Hey Jeff, this is a
from-
movie Anthony
yeah.
Carrigan was actually in.
that is actually Anthony Carrigan. Just so you know.
Yeah.
He is a lot of fun as the Terminator robot that they
So
clearly
funny.
were inspired by.
Yeah.
Every little bit of this movie is just so much fun, and the way it really also brings home the original idea of like, you know, bringing, you know, major fascinating people from the past together to have a big band session, and that is going to change the world. It is so pure in what it's doing. I think like the final bits of this movie are just perfect. It's so much fun. So yeah, I loved it completely.
Wow. All right, Jeff Kanata, what did you think of Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts about Bill and Ted Face the Music are best summed up in the form of a limerick. It was fun to rediscover that I'm a Bill and Ted lover. And as the world burns, it'd be nice if we learned to be excellent to each other.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to basically repeat a lot of the stuff that Vinder said, I think. I do think this movie has a lot of flaws and
Yeah.
a lot of missed
It also
opportunities.
doesn't make any sense. If you
Yeah,
think about
and-
time
and-
travel.
and
Yeah.
And I want to enumerate them. I think we'll wait for spoilers for that.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of things in this movie that I wish they had done differently. I think are missed opportunities. I think it kind of bugs me that they zigged when they could have zagged. And I want to talk about those in detail in spoilers. But also, it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's just a ball. It's just a blast to be with these guys and their daughters and in this goofy world. And the thing that I love most about this movie is that they fucking go for it,
Mhm.
right? They go for it. It is as far as they can push this wacky idea of these guys going all through time. And but it is like the complexity that they're willing to go to of just how chaotic this mess can be, while also having a B plot line of their daughters basically doing the first movie over
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
It's amazing to pull it all off in like an hour and a half. You know, it's like
Not even an hour and a half. This movie's like 82, 83 minutes long because
Yeah.
the credits are super long. Like it is tight.
It's
Super tight.
It's funny
lean.
that I like how they keep referring to how much time is left in the movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so great. It's lean. It's there's no fat on the bone. It's brisk. It's fast paced. It's just a good time, and it is exactly what I need right now. Right,
Mhm.
this movie is exactly what I need. If we were in a no COVID traditional summer,
Yeah.
where we're all, we got blue beam and sky as far as the eye can see, and we're all like, here we are in the end of August, like, oh god, all the action movies we've seen, and there's been so much bad stuff, and there's
Yeah.
so many things I was excited for, and they disappointed me, and like
I would have
every
won the summer
normal
movie wager again, like all this stuff. that-
well,
Yeah, sure.
I'm not talking a crazy fiction. I'm talking like
No,
what could have happened.
Won. I think I would have won, but okay, okay.
Uh, I don't know if this movie would have landed as well. I mean, I still think I would have enjoyed this movie,
Sure,
but I
yeah.
don't think it would feel like the salve that it feels like.
A
it
problem for
just-
all. Yeah,
It's,
a
it's not
solution for all the
slaking
problems
your
of
thirst.
society.
It wouldn't have slaked your
Yes.
thirst like an oasis in a desert. Let's say.
Exactly. It is not. It's not quenching the feeding the starving man that I am right now. But it really was just a delight. I did not pick up my phone at any point in this movie. I was
Mhm.
completely enthralled, having a great time, walking down memory lane, and also enjoying this revisit to this goofball world. Yes, we'll be talking about all these little things that I think the movie didn't do well, but like I said, it just doesn't matter because the experience washed over me in such a pleasant way that I think this is well worth the $20 I spent to rent it.
Listen, I bought the.
You
the
didn't
big
opt
pack.
for the extra $5 to buy it?
Why, dude? Why, dude? Why?
Because honestly, I'm gonna be rewatching this movie quite a bit. I actually
Maybe.
did the big iTunes pack because it was only a little more, and I wanted to watch and own Excellent Adventure anyway. Wanted to say, by the way, justice for Dean Parasot. Okay, the director of Galaxy Quest, who
Mm,
just has never really had a big. He did Fun with Dick and Jane. Terrible movie. Red 2. Y'all remember Red 2?
no.
The sequel to Red. He's done a lot of TV, but to see him back here in like a big genre movie that's hilarious, juggling huge concepts and big emotional arcs, like feels like everything he did really well in Galaxy Quest. So just want to say, I'm glad this guy is back, making an actual movie again.
All right, folks. Well, I have to say I had a good time as well, but you guys have already said a lot of what I wanted to say, so I think we should dive into spoilers for this movie. But overall, I think we all liked Bill and Ted Face the Music. Let's dive more in depth. Loved. Liked or loved. Let's dive more.
Also, I want to say, you brought up, Dave, you brought up the visual effects. I thought they
Mhm.
were pretty darn good. Like
Yeah.
better than this movie deserved almost,
I think the old man effects, where
Oh,
we
yeah.
see some things at some point, but we'll talk more about that in
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah.
But better than Prometheus. How about that?
Yeah.
It's true. I'll say the visual effects were pretty hit or miss for me, but some of them were really,
Really?
really good. Some of
Oh
them
man,
really,
I thought
really
they were
good.
all
Yeah.
pretty darn good.
All right. Let's get the spoilers for Bill and Ted Face the Music starting now.
Now you're looking for the secret.
You're gonna see this coming.
No,
But you won't find it because, of course,
you're not gonna see this coming.
you're not really looking.
I have been puzzling over how it works.
You don't really want to work it out.
Who's in the box?
I have been dying to tell you. I want to tell you my secret now.
You want to be fooled.
Alrighty. So what are some of the details? Jeff, you sound like you have a couple axes to grind with this movie, despite your love for it.
I do. And again, this is a little nitpicky because I feel like overall I truly enjoyed this experience. But the thing that I really liked, even as a kid, about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is that it handles time travel in a very specific way, in my favorite way, in fact, to handle time travel. It's the way I'm attempting to handle time travel in the dungeon run. We're doing a big time travel adventure right now, and I'm trying to make the time travel work the way Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure made time travel work, which is there's one timeline and you see it from start to finish. Now they're moving around in it, but when you see something happen, it's because it happened already, right? It's because now they're going to go back and live that out, but we see it sequentially. Right. We see it in the correct order, in the timeline order. So there's that wonderful scene in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure where they talk to themselves, and we see it the first side with them on one half and the second time with them on the second half, because we're not seeing them change the timeline. We're seeing them live through it linearly.
And also, there's the other rule that time is still moving in their base timeline too, even as they're traveling around. So they can't just go back to the beginning, right? There is an actual deadline to what they're doing.
Right. And I truly appreciated that. I think that is a very much more difficult magic trick to pull off. And I was so excited to see this movie do that at a level of complexity that was more sophisticated. And because we start off indicating that that's what we're doing, the movie begins going, strap in, because it's about to get wacky. And it does get wacky, but the movie just drops the ball on that premise. It allows there to be multiple timelines that have nothing to do with one another, multiple versions of Bill and Ted. And yes, there's lots of fun seeing roided out Bill and Ted and seeing, Talk
about excellent special effects.
Dude.
It looks awful, but it's so cartoonishly funny.
Incredible. I was looking for seams. I couldn't tell if it was prosthetics or digital or like heads pasted on other bodies or what it was. I was convinced. I thought it was great. But as much fun as it is to see these other us's, as they keep referring to them, and these, I kept waiting for it to be a more sophisticated gag that they were fooling themselves or putting on, that we were going to see them now jump to the other half of that and do that, the other side of it for themselves or something. But it never happened, right? It really was a fake out. It really was alternate timelines that will never be, because they actually do the song at the end. And that bums me out. It bums me out because I thought that's what I liked about the Bill and Ted time travel notion. Sure. I also think that as much fun as I had with the daughters and them collecting all the people from time, ultimately that didn't matter very much. And I kind of wish they had found a different take on the girls, instead of them just kind of doing impressions of Keanu and Alex Winter. Mm-hmm. I wish they had found a way into it that would have felt like the 2020 version of those San Dimas high schoolers.
Right. Well, why would they sound exactly the same? And have pretty much the same musical taste too. Like, I would have liked them to be more fully formed as characters, but I like, them for the little bit we got. I still like them.
And you guys know that I'm always a big stickler about titles, and I just feel like you've got Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Complete the pattern, right? Do the adjective and then the synonym for adventure.
Wasn't the second one supposed to be Bill and Ted Go to Hell? So
maybe, but I like bogus. Yeah. I loved Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey. It could have been like triumphant. Whatever, it could have been whatever it is. It could have been a cool.
This is a wonderful title nitpick, so please go on.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's reasonable.
That's great.
Reasonable. I do want to call out, by the way, that one of the children are played by Samara Weaving, who's an amazing actress. I loved her in Ready or Not, and also the other one is Bridget Lundy Payne, who goes by they them pronouns. It wasn't clear to me if the kid was non-binary though, but anyway, just wanted to call that out.
I thought their performances were great,
very charming, very charming,
but I just wish the movie's take on the children of Bill and Ted was a little more interesting, rather than it just being like small versions of the original characters.
I mean the movie makes some rather bizarre decisions. Here are some bizarre decisions. Okay. Number one, you have Erin Hayes and Jayma Mays, who plays these women play Bill and Ted's wives, and they're both English
Yeah.
they both are playing English characters, but neither of them is English. So they both need to
Right.
do like they're both very talented comedic actresses,
Yeah.
but they both need to force like a British accent, I guess. Which is like why did they do this? You know, it's just so
I
weird.
really wonder why they even tried to force the Keanu British accent, which we have learned in Dracula does not go so well for him. But I almost wonder if they're making fun of that too.
I also felt like the wives subplot was a little bit undercooked.
Yeah,
I think that
Totally.
what was great about this movie is that it's about aging. It's about
Yeah.
becoming middle aged and realizing that your best days are behind you, and like the moment that
you have
you're
not fulfilled your life's potential,
Yeah,
which was literally told to you by George Carlin.
right.
That must feel pretty bad.
Right. The feeling that like, hey, like my best days are ahead of me. Like I'm building up to some great grand like accomplishment. What happens when you realize like that's no longer true, and your best days are actually behind you, and now it's actually your job to play backup to your children.
Or to
So
the
this-
next generation or whatever.
Yeah, to the next generation. You know, and that's what this movie's about. And it's a very sweet
Yeah.
story, and it's very, you know, it's as with the other Bill and Ted movies, it's very kind of earnest in its message.
Yeah.
So I like all that. That said, this whole idea of like they're codependent and they're not there enough for their wives, like it just felt like
Well, it
very
felt like-
shoehorned in.
It felt like everyone's thought that except the actual wives.
Yeah.
Right? The wives never seemed to mind them, and it just felt like this.
I think they minded. You know, you could tell.
In the second movie, it was kind of weird. I feel like they Bogus Journey goes all over the place, but there's certainly tension there in terms of what they do as codependent people.
But it's just
Yeah.
like there's nothing in this movie where they resolve that in any way or they
Right.
grapple with that
Right,
in any
right,
way.
right. They don't, but I really love the couples therapy scene because I feel like it cuts to the heart of both the pathology of Bill and Ted. You know, like just they cannot be disconnected, but also like they still love their wives. They just don't know how to say it as individuals. It's sweet, but also scary at the same time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I didn't mention that bugged me a little bit is that the movie keeps telling you it's gonna be fucking awesome at the end. Like it's all gonna make sense at the end. They keep having this clue of like, don't judge a story until it's over. It'll all make sense at the end, even when it's crazy and wacky. The movie keeps telling you it's all gonna fall into place, and that kind of promise made me so excited to see what this big resolution was going to be, and then it really doesn't pay that off at all. You know,
I don't know. I kind of felt it. Like we have seen a lot of like I don't know, time travel, time loop, alternate universe narratives, and what this movie ends up being is just like what they say at the very end, right? It doesn't matter what the song actually is. What matters is that like they got everybody to play together and sing together and like, you know, harmonize together, which is it's a great message. It may not be the most like cinematic way to end things, but I liked it, even though nothing makes sense about creating infinite versions of yourself and giving, you know, instruments to people all over the past. Like, sure, if you break that apart at all, if you think about it, nothing works. But I think it looks like it makes for a good finale if you don't think too hard.
I had an unused Boom Goes Dynamite joke for this one, guys. You want to hear it?
Okay.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. Hey guys, this weekend I watched the third film in a trilogy where the first film was released in the 80s, and this third film features a woman who has sex with both a man and his son.
Wow.
But enough about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
What? Oh my god.
Wow.
That is a
long
that is a
walk.
pull. Long walk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Much better.
Yeah.
Long
I'm just
walk.
like, you know, that's the way these movies are connected. So
Sure.
That sounds like
Also,
you,
not really a trilogy, right? Because there were more Indiana
no,
Jones movies, so.
there's only been 3 Indiana Jones films.
that's my understanding.
Yeah.
There's only 3.
There's only been 3 films, so
I feel
Okay.
there's another one somewhere.
How dare you? How
I
dare
feel like
you?
it may be better than the second one, but
What?
What? GTFO, Devindra. Okay, are we done? Are we done here? Anything else we want to say about this movie,
Yeah,
guys?
we're gonna do another 2 hours talking about Indiana Jones now, evidently.
That was the first episode of the Slash Filmcast, actually.
Yeah, it's true.
I think
It's
it
true.
literally was.
It was. It was.
Let me just say, I love everybody. I love freaking Kristen Shaw in this. I love Kid Cudi, like just being the person who apparently understands time
Quantum
loops and
theory.
quantum physics.
Yeah.
Like it's a joke they keep going back to, but it never stops being funny. And by the end, they're just like, Kid Cudi, can you? What's the answer here? How do we do this? And freaking Anthony Carrigan. His slow.
He steals the movie.
It's very
steals the movie.
He's
My
great.
opinion.
He's
So
great because
funny.
like he starts off as being the scary robot, but just like in Barry, like he adds like a dose of like humanity and fear and something and like into this character who's just like by the end you're just like, man, he's just a sad, poor sad robot with no friends.
That character needs
yeah.
a spin-off movie. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's good. It's that
Yeah,
good.
it's very
Dennis
good.
Caleb McCoy.
Yeah.
So my name is Dennis Caleb McCoy.
He's Irish? Anyway. Okay. That's Bill and Ted Face the Music. We all enjoyed it. You should check it out if you want a heartwarming, sweet, earnest tale.
Sure. Also, Bill and his dad, Ted and his dad, have that moment finally. That moment of reconciliation, which I thought was
It's
fun.
kind
And
of
they-
rad how many of the actors they brought back.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Sad. It's sad that Rufus couldn't come back, obviously. But it's like
Obviously.
I'm
But
glad they didn't
managed
try to do
find a
something
moment.
stupid like, replace the actor or some CG version of it. You know.
Well, they have that one moment of him.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a hologram, so it felt okay to me.
It was a hologram.
Yeah.
But also William Sadler back
Yeah,
as dad.
William
That's fun.
Sadler, the guy who plays
Love that guy.
Haywood in Shawshank Redemption,
Love him.
is back. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Bill and Ted Face the Music. We all had a lot of fun with it. That's going to bring us to the end of this week's episode of the Slash Filmcast. You can find more episodes of this podcast at slashfilmcast.com. Email us at slashfilmcast@gmail.com. Stay tuned to hear what we'll be discussing next week. Our theme song comes from AdamWarlock.com. Our spoiler bumper comes from filmmaker Kyle Hillinger. Check out his YouTube channel. Our weekly plugs music comes from Noah Ross. And this episode was edited by me, David Chen, not Beatty. She's not around, but hopefully she feels better. Okay, next week we're going to be reviewing Mulan, which is going to be available on Disney Plus for $30. Jeff, you can't avoid buying this one.
Yeah.
You got to fork over the cash for this one.
I gotta buy that one. Yeah, there's no way around it.
No way around it. You got to pay the $30 fine for seeing Mulan, and therefore only have Mulan for the entire time that you're subscribing to Disney Plus. And the second you cancel it, you will no longer have access to Mulan.
Yeah. Well, I have
That's
it
the
at
way
least a
buying
year.
things works.
Yeah, it's
I
how
already
buying things work.
a year of Disney Plus, so I at least have it a year.
Indeed. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week for our review of Mulan. Have a happy holiday, Labor Day. Hope everyone rests up, has a refreshing weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy. Don't do anything stupid. We'll see you next time on the Slash Filmcast. All right. It's processing audio.
Uploading.